Well, Jen, thank you so much for giving up your time today.
My pleasure.
It's really good, I think, for our clients to just hear from a customer's voice. So it'd be really interesting for me to understand what first attracted you to use Landscapia.
I've been looking for a company to use for about 12 months. I've been doing research online and visiting various places. I really like Landscapia's website. It was the most significant thing that drew me to the company in the first place. There were good graphics, there were good before and after photographs. There were lots of detail on the website that really stood out for me. And having visited a couple of companies in the local area, I wasn't really seeing a company that could provide me with the whole package, and Landscapia could. You could do the design, you could do the build, you could do the plant, you could do it all, whereas I would have had to have employed different companies to get what I wanted.
Okay, so Jen, how would you describe your garden before we started?
It was a disaster. I think a combination of years of working full-time, losing my husband at a very young age, and not having that sort of get up and go for several years, the garden really got away from me, it really did. We had an old dilapidated shed, we had old broken down paving, beds that didn't work, that were in the wrong place. It was a disaster.
So when you approached us, what were you really looking to achieve from your new garden?
I wanted somewhere I could use all year round. I wanted somewhere where I could be a gardener again, because in retirement I've got the time to do it. So I wanted somewhere I could relax, that would be a bit of a sanctuary for me, that I could use all year round, because being so long without a garden that was usable, I needed a space that would work for me. The garden is north facing, which is a challenge anyway, and it's always been a challenge in terms of what you can grow here. So I wanted that to work and take into account the different aspects of the garden so that I could grow things in the right place, right plant, right place, as they say.
So in regards to the position of the seating, was there any key points why these seating areas are where they are?
So before, this end of the garden was taken up pretty much by the huge dilapidated shed that had years and years and years of junk in it, basically. But this is the sunniest spot of the garden for a lot of the year, and so it was a complete waste to have it just used for storage. So I wanted to maximise the use of this end of the garden. With the backdrop of the woods behind, it's a perfect spot. You don't get sun in the morning, but I've got my breakfast bench for sun in the morning because that faces east. So I get the sun coming up and over, and it's a nice spot to start the day. And then when it's all too hot in the middle of the day, you can go down to the patio area, and it's much cooler there because it's shaded by the house. It's perfect for early afternoon snoozes.
Did Landscapia meet your expectation?
Landscapia met all of my expectations, above and beyond. I've been so pleased with the product that they've delivered for me, so pleased with the process, so happy with the guys who came and did the garden. They were joyous to work with because they were so positive and so enthusiastic, and nothing was too much trouble, and everything was done to such a degree of accuracy. I can't fault it. It was such a pleasant experience from beginning to end.
So how did you find the design process with Landscapia?
Wonderful. You sat me down, I gave you my mood board, and you went, oh okay, you've done quite a bit already. And I said, well, you know, I've just got a few ideas. And we went through the things that would work, the things that wouldn't work. You came up with some wonderful things that I had not thought of. We incorporated the circular benching idea that I'd first seen at Chelsea in 2021, I think. And I really wanted an aspect of that in the garden. But the floating pavers were all your idea, and they really make the garden. I can't imagine the garden without them now. The fly-throughs that you did for me on the CAD design, that was wonderful, because that really gives you a sense of what it's going to look like when it's done. And you can also see it from different aspects that you wouldn't necessarily have thought about. The design process was exactly what I wanted from a company, and what I had found to be lacking in some of the other companies that I looked at when I was doing the research. So Landscapia really fit the bill for me.
So is there any particular feature in the garden that really stands out to you?
No, I love it all. It's one cohesive, wonderful, smashing bit of garden. They each have their purpose. They come together in one garden, which is wonderful, but I can use different bits of it at different times of the day, different times of the year. I love it. It's a real wonderful space for me, and exactly what I hoped it would be when I first set out to do this project.
Do you think that the investment was worth?
I do. A lot of people will shudder at the cost, but this is a big garden. It's a big chunk of space. If you're talking about just replacing the fencing, which I did before Landscapia came in to do this garden, that cost me a lot more, almost 3 times as much as I thought it might have cost me. So I knew it was going to be expensive. But you worked with me very carefully to keep the costs down. We worked so hard on these floating pavers to try and get an affordable solution. We hunted down the best moongate that we could find, and I mean, to build this circular seating area from scratch when the product that we'd first looked at wasn't available because of delays due to COVID, I think this is just the perfect solution, and to build it from scratch, never having done one before, I thought was just amazing. So thank you.
So what are the benefits that have came from creating and building this garden?
It's a space I can use now. It's almost like having a second house, because there's rooms, if you like, out here, which is, you know, part of the design process that we talked about. But it is in the summer. I mean, it's not been a great year this year, but last year pretty much lived in this garden, because, you know, from breakfast right through to late evening, it's beautiful in summer evenings with the lights on. It's just absolutely stunning. So it has given me double the space that I had before to actually live in. And it's a joy to live in it.
Why would you recommend Landscapia?
I think Landscapia as a company really have it right. They have the client at the heart of everything that they do. They listen, they try their level best to execute the plan as close to what you want as they can possibly get. And I think the innovation and the care that they take. I think the thing that amazed me the most using Landscapia was the attention to detail, where I might have said, that's okay, it's a garden. Your boys were saying, no, it has to be absolutely spot on. And I can guarantee you every single corner in this garden is either a right angle or the angle that it needs to be, absolutely spot on. And I think it's very important for a company that's providing a solution with lots of elements, that the company can work together with the different individuals to make it happen. And I think Landscapia do that perfectly.